Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Tuesday, May 8th, 2018. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We are coiling up again, very tightly coiled. Not a whole lot of price action going on. Yesterday, very tightly coiled day. For the most part, traded about half of its average daily range. Today, trading about 41% of ADR as we head into the day. Basically, we've been averaging about 34 points per day, and today, so far heading into RTH, we have about a 13.75 point day. So very narrow trading range action, and again, as I've continued to mention, that narrow range is coming right at the center of the overall larger impulse move that we had in January, February, and this is very similar to what we talked about right at that time. When we formed that pivot low and hit the mid, I mentioned we could just mostly stay within the middle 50% of this range for a while, for many months, and you can see now heading into the second week of May here, we have definitely traded inside that range for the last several months, and we are coiling, compressing inside that range, which means at some point here we're going to have to make a move toward one of these edges to see what they're made of. So again, at some point here we will likely see expansion, but you have to be careful in the zone. Obviously in the short term we mentioned that the flow is to the upside, but we could start to find some weakness up here, some resistance, and then we could flow right back. That's the nature of a trading range when it's back and forth and you see lots of chops. So again, nothing really solid to go on right now. We'll continue to watch this here and see how it develops, but not eager to do any business in the ES in this zone right here, at least on a swing basis. Now if we take a look at the NQ, you can see right here this one has been a little more bullish and is nearly approaching a major key level. Actually has the 68.50 level. Already reached it here yesterday, the highs of the day, 68.51 quarter. We talked about that level in detail in the trading room and also in the pre-market report. You can see right here, there's the FOMC key level from March 21st. We've never come back to really test that level. Instead, this level right here, 68.50, was the one that was support. Then it went offered. The retest was offered. The retest was offered. And now here's another test and pulling back off that zone. So that's a very important short-term area right there of resistance. We could still pop above it, maybe test 69 and still fail. And that could swing the pendulum the other way, perhaps into 6,500, as this thing again continues to chop back and forth. So I'll be watching this area for signs of bigger rejection that could lead to a move this way. If we push through it, then again, as I talked about before, we could come up here and test some of the prices in this zone before we pull back. So nothing has to say we have to sell off. Obviously, I mentioned before we could pop up here, but whenever something's coiling like this, you just have to let it develop and let it do its thing before direction is established. So being patient with the NQ right now. Here's crude oil. Crude oil has been quite bullish, recently getting a breakout to the upside of this narrow range. The 67's held on many tests. We got the breakout up here through 69. Price finally reached our 70.41, which was our target on this move, and we came just shy. And now 3 weeks later hitting that target and completing it. Now here's the deal, 69 is so important here that if price gives up 69s, we could easily swing right back down through that 67 low. So that's going to be an area that bulls need to keep bid. So if price comes into that zone, bulls want to keep that area bid for another round of strength to the upside. So keep that in mind as we continue onward with crude. The next upside target here is going to be the 72s. So if price pulls back into say 68.75, 69, and starts to reject into the trigger zone, maybe a retest of this previous month's close, that could provide a buy into 72. So keep an eye on that opportunity. Now if we take a look here at gold futures, you'll notice that in gold we continue to hold down here near the 1306.60 support level. Price has been holding. It's been looking like it wants to go. It's been defending. So bulls are currently absorbing 1309 to 1310 every rotation. I mentioned that, you know, at some point price has to go because you have lots of bulls that are defending day over day over day, and if they're not getting paid at some point, there will be weak hands that give up that trade, and then the stop run occurs. So at some point soon, price needs to start pushing through 1320. That would open up a quick move back to 1338, followed by the continuation toward 1360. If there's any failure to stay above, say 1306, 1307, 1308, then that could really lead to much more weakness ahead. So again, right now bulls are doing just enough to keep this area bid, but they need to start getting paid or the stops come out. Lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin. As we know, Bitcoin has been compressing for the next major move. If we look at this here, let's pop this up right here and let's go 10 period. So if we bring this up on a 10 period, it's looking at all the last 10 bars to see how big the range is, how wide is that range compared to average, and you can see it's very compressed when it starts to turn magenta. It means it's less than 65% of average range for that size range, and that tells you right there that we're very close to expansion. And what I mentioned before is if price can continue to hold 8,500, we have a good shot to rally into 11.3. So here's the idea: we might not be done going down just yet. Here's 85, here's the top of the range at 99.20. This is the narrow range. So if we push into this zone, that might be the jump start needed to push price into 11.3. So that's something to keep an eye on, but we are definitely compressing here. The last times we've compressed, we've seen breakouts come right away. So again, this could be on the way up as long as 8,500 continues to remain intact. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.